Serving community. Talkradio.nyc.
Your boy, Tommy D, a little bit raspy in the voice today. I'll explain why in a moment. The show is called Philanthropy in Focus. That's with a PH in front. But you know that by now if you've been hanging out here, checking this out. Every single Friday morning, I come up 2 flights up from where I get my coffee, from the kitchen, just below the roof of the house in my attic. And it's my honor, it's my privilege to get to meet with leaders of nonprofit organizations and help them tell their story and amplify their messages. And that's what I'm all about. So last night, it was a bit of amplification of messages. I'm going to read to you Warrior, a battle against trauma, learning to love and trust again. I was out at the Suffolk Theater in Riverhead with Warrior Ranch Foundation. Congratulations to Eileen Shanahan and Danielle Altabrando, the filmmakers who created this important documentary, speaking about PTSD, speaking about veterans that their organization has served, and speaking about this horse named Warrior that was a life-changing horse for so many. And I got to be the MC. I got to be the guy on stage doing the introductions. And as I like to say sometimes, the straw that stirs the drink a little bit. And it was a touching experience to be there. Shout out to my collaborator, Melissa Ingino from Grit and Grace, who hooked me up with one of her sweatshirts. But I got to tell you, gang, you know me and my hoodies, Warrior Ranch, got 2 versions. Check it out if you're watching. 2 versions of the Warrior Ranch Foundation hoodies. You know when you got a black and maroon hoodie in front of you and you can't make a decision when you're Tommy D, you buy both. That's the thing. If they had 4 colors, I would have bought all 4. That's just how it is. You know, I was thinking, Joanna Formont, I was thinking this morning, I was like, dude, you're going to do so many episodes of this show. What are you going to do with all the hoodies from all the nonprofits that you keep purchasing? And sometimes somebody's like, Tommy D, just take this, wear this hoodie. And then I write a check. But it's just like, it's so funny because I can't help myself when it gets to this type of stuff. And I was thinking about this actually last night, driving home from Riverhead to where I live in Nassau County and going, I don't have a Sibs Place hoodie. I don't have any Sibs Place swag. And I was like, we got to fix that. So what does he talk about? Joanna, executive director of Sibs Place, my new friend. We met through the Long Island Imagine Awards, Vanguard Benefits. You know, we came out, we did a video, the whole thing. My friend, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And I think we could solve that hoodie problem. I think we
so?
can work on that.
We work it out? Good, because
yeah.
Because your boy is known to have a bit of a hoodie addiction, if there's such a thing.
Okay.
You know? I think there is such a thing. So I really, this show is all about you. It's about your organization. It's about telling the important stories of Sibs Place, why it exists. But it really starts out with, like I always say, and we've talked about this earlier this week, it starts out with your story. Because I used to watch a show on A&E called Biography, and I love that show. And you know, now I watch a lot of things on YouTube, stories of people. And I remember, like, I think you and I are too young to really know this program, but there used to be a show called like This Is Your Life. And it would be like, Joanna Formont, this is your life. And it would be like people from like all different walks of life. And it'd be like, I was your 2nd grade teacher. Hello there, Joanna. Do you remember me? And it would be like stuff like that. So we're not going to do all that today. It's not that kind of show. But it is, this is your life, this is your journey, and ultimately we talk about Sibs Place and the great work the organization is doing. How's that sound for you?
Sounds great. Sounds good. Yeah.
Cool, because that's the only plan I had. So
good. Me too. I can talk about myself.
Let's take
Sibs all day.
Where does it start? Where does it start? You know, I mean, you've been there for 21 years, right?
21 years.
21 years. So let's take me back. Take me on your journey, please.
Right. So pretty much right out of graduate school, I started working with the not-for-profit world. I was working in Manhattan with victims of domestic violence, and I found myself, I was working with the adults in that situation, and it was actually immigrant families. So as I was working with them in my downtime, they didn't have someone to, I guess, provide childcare for the children while their moms were in therapy. And so when we had a moment, I had an affinity towards children, although I was doing adult work. I would babysit the kids. And we had a very small closet that was our play therapy room with everybody's leftover toys that they donated to the space and broken up crayons. So it wasn't that it was a thought out children's program, but what came of it in working with these children was the realization that through play and through art and through just being able to be a present body for them, they could communicate their trauma while their parents were also talking about their domestic violence journey. And it was a powerful moment for me. I had a Spanish speaking little girl, 4 or 5 years old, who in her play was able to detail for me this night where the police came and her dad was arrested and all this trauma that she experienced that she verbally couldn't share with me because of her language and my language barrier. But I was able to see it all through her play. And that for me was my turning point where I knew I wanted to work with children. And I did that for 3 years. I started a children's program at that not-for-profit in the city. And then when it came time to kind of relocate myself to Long Island, I found Sib's Place, and I've been here ever since. And it just was a natural um, kind of extension of what I was already doing. It's, helping children during a traumatic time of their lives and helping provide support.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so many things come up for me when you talk about trauma, and I'm on this mission, I'm on this campaign. In fact, after we finish the show, I head over to the studio to do an episode of hashtag ending the stigma together. And last night in watching this movie, I was taken by the movie, not because I've served that in any sort of, I'm not a veteran. I haven't served in the military. I have many friends who have, and I'm a human person. And I believe we all have experienced trauma. I know we all have, and that's what that hashtag ending the stigma program is about in a lot of ways. It's about addressing the fact that I believe we need to normalize these conversations as it relates to getting and seeking therapy and support if that's what somebody needs. I mean, I flagrantly tell everybody that I'm in therapy and I see my therapist twice a week. And some people might go like, too much TMI. No, it isn't really. It's actually, I'm not telling you what we're talking about. I'm telling you that I, as an adult man, go and see somebody. Well, I don't go. I see Sean on Zoom, not exactly Zoom, but on a video
Right.
thing. And that is life changing for me. And I think it's life changing to hear somebody say that. And then I tell people how I'm sober almost 15 years. And I think that's life changing and maybe somewhat inspiring. So I'm on that stage yesterday and I said, I have this quote: everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. And I said that last night, and I was very, very focused on not making it anything about me. It wasn't a Tommy D show. I was there to just be there, right? But I said that quote, and I wasn't sure if I was going to say that quote after the film, but I did. And a couple grabbed me after the Q&A and everything, and were very appreciative for just saying that, because the woman said, it reminds me, Tommy, of how we need to approach people. And I said, listen, I don't remember her name, but let's pretend it was Mary. I said, Mary, I don't do that every day. I try. Like, I don't live by that every day. I do my best to. So if it's inspirational to you, and if it's inspirational to someone who's finding this video somewhere, Joanna, it's about, I believe we all have experienced trauma, and it's about compassion and love and connection. And as you were telling that story, seeing that little girl, whatever, playing with figurines or playing with little um, toys to express to you the trauma she'd experienced, that impacted your life all these 20 some odd years later.
Mhm.
You're still
Yeah.
and you're still telling that story. And I'm sure she may not remember playing with those toys, but I'm sure the interaction that you and she had impacted her life, because she felt there was someone who cared, and there was that connection and that level of support. And I'm a big mush, and I get it, this is not Oprah here. Maybe it is, maybe it's similar, but it's but it's not. It's like I go from what's coming out for me, and that's what came up for me as you were telling that story, because I'm still reflecting on the special night I had last night. So, did you know that you were going to, like, when you were younger, were you the person as a child people would come to and connect with and tell stories? Because I find there's I've been in sales my whole life. I was a bartender for many years before that, and I've always had this uncanny situation where people come to me and like tell me things and are open. And part of it, I think, is because I listen. Part of it is because I'm curious. Um, I don't know, maybe it's just the vibes, you know? So in your world, was there something similar for you like that where you always were that person that people went to?
100%. I was always the go-to person when a friend was having a bad day, or if there was a fight going on between a friend group, I was the fixer, trying to negotiate and have everyone's feelings be heard. So I think I knew from a very early age I wanted to go into the mental health field. When I went to college, I was a psychology major and then just, went straight ahead to get my master's right after that. But I think it comes down to, in you sharing your story with everybody. Everybody wants to share their story. They want to feel heard, right? Everyone has this tale to tell. They want to be able to tell their personal story, and have somebody listening to them, not ready to one up them with their tale, right? So I think just by being an empathetic listener, we could do that in our everyday life. And by sharing our struggles or challenges that we face, like you did last night, Tommy, like it just allows people to feel validated and normalizes it if they've gone through similar experiences. And that's exactly what we do at Zip's Place. We provide these children with a space to tell their story, what's going on in their lives. Right now, they're, coping with something unimaginable. A parent or a sibling is diagnosed with cancer. They have maybe lost a parent or a sibling to an illness or an accident or any other type of loss. And they want to be able to tell their story in a safe space. And that's what we provide for them here.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for reflecting back on me. You're that level of being an empathetic listener and that connection. I found out, it's tragically a very good friend. I just found this out this morning. A friend of mine, brother passed away out on the West Coast in a
Mm.
terrible accident. And I haven't had the opportunity. I found this out 45 minutes ago. I haven't had the opportunity to call her just yet. And it
Right.
happened yesterday morning. Um, and that's how life is. It's like it's that fleeting. And this was a
Mhm.
42-year-old man who's no longer with us. And that's like, and this is it. It's happened to make like pretty big news because of who this individual is. Life is so, it moves so freaking fast, and it could be over in a blink. And all the stuff and the drama and the bridges, like the burned bridges and the crap between people. God, I mean, I'm thinking about people in my life that I need to call today to mend some things, because I don't know what tomorrow is. I don't know if we're
Right.
here and that's just a reflection. Gang, if you pay attention to the show, it's just gonna be raw and open, and we're gonna go where we go, where the conversation leads us, and that's what's happening this morning for sure. Um,
It's interesting you say that. I was running a bereavement group just this week on Wednesday, and that was our topic of conversation is that, nobody knows more than someone impacted by illness or loss directly that, tomorrow is a gift. You're not guaranteed it. So you have to just really treasure the moment and to be in a group with a group of individuals who are parenting children who have experienced a loss, who they themselves are mourning a loss, and them to have a sense of appreciation and gratitude for the day, for today, and that they're here for their children. That's inspiring for me. That's what gets me through my day. That's what allows me to come and do this job because, they're willing to put in the work. They want to talk about what's going on, but they also eventually are able to get to a place of hope and gratitude and really just embrace the moment. And I think that's a lesson that I carry into my life. It puts things in perspective for you for sure.
yeah, I hear everything you're saying, and thank you for being so open with your own life, because honestly, we do plan for the future. We all do. We have visions of, like, what it's going to be like, and we're going to be, on the I actually have a swing on our porch, but you're going to be rocking on that porch swing with like country time lemonade, and like, you can't get up because you're arthritis, maybe, or maybe you're not. Or maybe that relationship that you thought you'd grow old together isn't going to be there, because I mean, we have a friend who tragically lost her husband to pancreatic cancer at 41,
Mhm.
42 years old. This is
Yeah.
life, man. This is what it is. So in the moments, be grateful, be here. If you need to reach out to somebody. This is my big thing. Reach out, check in on people, love and compassion. I say it all the time. All right, we are going to go to a quick break. Tommy's a big mush already. We haven't even started the show yet. We're ready. We're here. Joanna, I want to get into, when we come back from break, Sib's Place, the creation of this organization. I was blessed to come for a visit recently, leading up to the Long Island Imagine Awards, and we did a video, and you took me on a tour. And the funny thing about being me, I was going to say the funny thing about being Tommy D, but the funny thing is, I want to come back again, again and again and again. And the challenging part is, like, I want to do that with each one of my friends at the nonprofit spaces, because that's where I want, that's where my bliss is. It's in this place where I see people like you who are doing this important work. So what it ends up doing in my mind is, oh, I'll just do a whole nother show about that, where I just go on location and do these things. But you know what? It's inspiring because I got 24 hours in every day, man, and I want to fill them up with good vibes. I was telling this story last night, and then we'll go to break. I'll use a bad word. All that crap, gang, it's all there if you want to see it. It's all there if you want to go see all the negative parts of life in the world, and you can spend your 24 hours there. Or you can invest your 24 hours with people who are making the world a better place. It's a choice. I choose to hang out with people like Joanna Formont. That's just the way it is, gang. So we'll be right back. The show's Philanthropy in Focus. The kid has a raspy voice, but we will get through it. We'll be right back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
But yesterday afternoon, I was with my very good friend, and in a lot of ways a mentor to me, Yolanda Urbano Gross, was being honored here on Long Island. Yolanda is the CEO of Options for Community Living. And it's so fun when you're with your friends and they're like looking out for you. And she's like, oh my God, you should go on Tommy's show. And I love the song. And I'm going to sing the song. And I've been in the attic. And she has not actually been in the attic. Yolanda, you have not actually like physically been in the attic, but like the shtick is, right? You know, Joanna, in the attic. That's where I do the show. But no one has ever actually been in the attic. One day, maybe like I will have a party in the attic for like 3 people. And that will be because it literally, it's not a joke. It is an attic. It is a room on the top of my house. But shout out to Yolanda. I love you. Congratulations on your honor. And I love Options for Community Living. And I guess how would I say selfless? I'm just going to promote something. I'm an honoree September 26th at Options for Community Living murder mystery event at Captain Bill's out here on Long Island. I was with the team from Options yesterday talking about it, and I said, you need to figure out how many people they could fit in that room, because your boy's got a lot of favors he's owed back. So we're going to take a lot of those favors and bring them to the room on September 26th. And it's a murder mystery event. It's like a mafia murder mystery event. And I am not a made man, so I don't know how the night ends, but hopefully I'm still around on September 27th. We'll see how it all goes if I don't get whacked. All right, Joanna, Tommy's being silly now. What are we doing? Let's get into Sib's Place. Let's talk about this story. I mean, you have been there for so many years of your career. Even I was looking on LinkedIn. I mean, this is where it says this is where you've been. You don't even really have a lot of explaining of other things. It says since '04 you've been in this space. So when you've been there that long, I mean, you've been a big part of creating processes, creating culture, and impacting so many lives. So let's tell your story, please.
Fun fact, one of my first jobs was at Options for Community Living, so it all comes full circle today.
Well, let me
Yeah,
tell you, you better be in that room with me because
I
on the
know. I just saw that email, so I will save
yeah,
the date.
just good. So I don't want to get whacked. So I need a lot of
Okay.
protection. I need my friends around me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in that room just like up against the wall, scoping out the room because I don't know if I'm being set up here. I'm kidding everybody. It's shtick. Shtick. Rent a movie. Check out Goodfellas. What do you want? All
Yeah.
right.
But anyway, that's
Let's
Options.
go.
But
Let's do it. Yes.
since, like, what I love about being here so long is that we have been able to grow the program. When I started, it was myself and another woman. She was an executive director, social worker, Suzanne Kornblatt. And we're an affiliate of a hospital, an affiliate of Mount Sinai South Nassau. But we've been able to grow the program. So over our journey, we obtained our own 501c3, so our own independent not-for-profit. We have established our own board, so that's giving us that sense of governance on our own. And so those were like professionally, two things I didn't know I would necessarily do in the mental health world, but that was a challenge that I was able to work with Suzanne on and achieve for SIP's Place. But and program wise, we've been able to grow the program as well. And a lot of that is because we listened to the community and what the community needs were. So when the program first started, the focus, we were in a small little basement in Hewlett. So you did not get to see that space, but we're in a small basement. And it was strictly focused on children that had a sibling with a devastating illness. Could be cancer, any other devastating illness. And we existed for quite some time with that mission. And as we expanded our network and our community awareness and more people heard about our services, we would get calls on the regular, well, what happens if there's a parent with a cancer diagnosis? There are no services for them. And with that, we kind of went back to the hospital. We thought to our supporters, our founding donors, because they, had a mission in mind, and we didn't want to, disrespect that. And we said, can we expand our mission? And we did. And that really changed the game for us. I would say on more nights than not, we had children coping with a parent's cancer diagnosis. And that's because there are not as many services available for them. There are more services for children who have a sibling who's ill, and that's great. And that's completely grown tremendously, with organizations like Sunrise and Kids Need More. They're doing great things for children with cancer and their siblings. But when a parent has a cancer diagnosis, there were limited resources. So we were able to open that up.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think of my buddy Paul Rubin over at Camp Good Morning.
Mm-hmm.
Paul. Yeah.
Yes, we're good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been on the program. I haven't spoken to him in a while. Sending you my best, Paul, as we lean into
Yeah.
spring and summer here. I'm sure he's got camp going. Usually, I'll shoot out there one day. My dad owns the Ralph's Italian Ices in Huntington on New York Avenue. For those of you locals, next to the Paramount Theater, and I usually show up with Italian Ices at camp, and I bring my dad to a couple of these things. In fact, I met some of my friends last night from Operation Vest. Shout out to Jenny and Stefan Hespler. They have their big Operation Vest walk. It's on June 8th, Saturday morning out on Long Island. Check that out, Operation Vest. But we bring Italian Ices, and I make sure my dad is involved with that because it's one thing for me to go in and steal Italian Ices from my dad and bring them to my friends in the nonprofit sector. What was the guy who used to steal from the rich and give to the poor?
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood. So I'm like the
Yeah.
Robin Hood of Italian Ices, maybe. But it's one thing for that. But it's the other thing for my old man to see. He loves when I call him my old man too. But it's the one thing for my dad to see that in action and see what's actually happening and see the impact. And we should talk about Italian Ices for one night. I'll bring some ices for the kids.
Yeah, we have a camp in the summer. That'd be a great treat.
100%. We'll make it happen. We will totally make that happen. But I got off track there because I was saying Paul Rubin. Yeah, and I mentioned a friend of mine earlier, and her two boys went out to Paul's camp when her dad passed a couple of years in a row, and so really, really special. I love how I want to go back to because it sounds like you said you didn't expect to be doing certain things, and I think what you were talking about was like kind of establishing the own like the entity as itself, separate and apart from the hospital system. So let's talk about that did you come into the organization as the ED all the years ago or no? So let's talk about that and then what that transition sort of looked like, because
Right.
it's only every day of the week and all, especially the days that end in Y, where somebody goes, "Hey, Tommy D, I'm going to start a nonprofit." And I go, "Oh, love it. I love it. Heart with my hands. Here you go. Passion." And hold on a sec. What I think maybe it'd be cool to do is look around in the community and try to maybe connect with organizations that might be doing similar work that maybe your idea might become a program of. Never am I trying to discourage anybody from making the world a better place, but we have a lot of organizations who do great work. So anyway, that's a little commercial. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, I'll tell you another time. Joanna, the idea here was, though, this was in affiliation with the hospital system. So let's talk about that, and then what was your role when you came into the organization? Let's just go there.
So I came in, I believe, as an assistant coordinator. It was a coordinator and an assistant coordinator. Like I said, there was two of us
Yeah.
that had full-time roles, and then we brought in some consultants. And as we expanded our mission, we were able to expand our staff. We're very supported by volunteers, so that's always been at the core of that community involvement. So that is necessary, because if you're only two people and you have 15 kids in a room, you need that added support. But as we grew the mission, we were able to grow our titles and our responsibilities. And, it had its challenges, but it was also exciting to be part of that business end of the not-for-profit world. In recent years, I'm writing grants. That was not necessarily something I thought would be on my top 10 things of doing in a day, but I am now. That is, and the fundraising element of it, that is something I've grown into over time, which it's challenging. In a day, I might start my day on a call with you, promoting our services like this. And then as the day goes on, I'm writing a grant. And then now it's 3 o'clock and the kids walk in and I'm running the support groups. And then I'm running a parent group. And then, you might have to pull a child out and you're having a crisis moment that you have to do a one-on-one with them. So, a day looks very different every day. But that makes it exciting. It makes it challenging. And that because I'm delivering that direct care and we do have a tight staff, we've now grown to 4 full-time staff. And that's something I'm really proud of since I've become the executive director. We've been able to grow the program in that way. And we have these talented social worker and I have talented mental health counselor and 2 art therapists that really are the core of the program. They're the ones delivering the services alongside with me. So we wouldn't exist without them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, we know about mighty, strong, and small teams in our sector.
Yeah.
So that was always kind of one of the things about this program was I never wanted this to be, okay, we're going to get the behemoth nonprofits on this program. And listen, I have plenty of organizations that have come on this program that have high budgets and high employee counts and things like that. But that's not what the show is about. The show is about every nonprofit that I know and that I hang out with, or that somebody in my network connects me with, that should come on the show and have the opportunity to tell their story. However, I don't care if you have 250 employees or you have 2 employees. Most people, as they say, I'm wearing multiple hats. It's always that, it's like the same person that is speaking to grant makers is often the same person that might be tidying up the bathroom at the organization.
That literally happened last night. So yes.
See, I wasn't watching. I didn't even know. I was busy. I was emceeing an event, but I do know I didn't need to be there to know, is my point.
Exactly.
So, because these are small businesses, right? Nonprofit is a tax filing status, gang. It does not mean these are not businesses, right? So if you are the restaurateur and you're the chief cook and bottle washer, as they say, and the maitre d', you put on a white jacket and then you put on a shirt and tie out front, whatever. That's very similar to the work going on here. So, I want to talk about the thing with the Mount Sinai connection and like what that looked like, because when you started, were you an employee of Mount Sinai? Were you an employee of the organization? Like how, because there was some transition, and I'll use the word and correct me, but like a breakaway and separation, for lack of a better word.
So we were employees, and I still remain. We all still remain employees of Mount Sinai South Nassau, which is great because we do have this wonderful partnership with the hospital. They are able to provide us with support when needed, but also we can, go into the hospital and connect to their cancer center. And now that they're affiliated with the system, in Manhattan, that broadens our ability to connect. But just because we're connected to a hospital, that doesn't mean we can't work with families from any hospital. And that was why we wanted to break the affiliate, become an affiliate and not a department. It allowed us to, one, apply for grant funding in a real way. Our budget is more true now as an affiliate. as we're applying for grants, but also to walk into a hospital system that's not Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
You're not a hospital coming into a hospital. So it did
Yeah.
make it easier to try to do community outreach and get referrals.
Yeah, it's interesting. So shout out to the Long Island Imagine Awards, by the way. Shout out to Vanguard Benefits, because you had something to do with the Imagine Awards this year, did you not?
We did. We were very surprised and excited to receive the Rising Star Award, which was incredible.
Yes. Yeah, and it's actually just a little bit, everybody. It's the Vanguard Benefits Rising Star Award.
Yes.
I don't have a Vanguard Benefits hoodie on for you all because it's downstairs. Plus, I got my brand new Warrior Ranch hoodie. If you want one, call me. I'll text you. Or Tommy D at philanthropyandfocus.com if you want one, or hook up with me on TommyD.NYC on Instagram. We'll get you sorted out with a hoodie. Now I probably got to buy 50 hoodies. That's how it goes. That's how it goes around here. So, but yes, we were so excited that you won, and there was 3 other finalists, and I'm going to remember them right now. Nosh Delivers, which is in my community here where I live up on the North Shore of Long Island. BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse. How about that crew in the room that night with all their leathers, the vests? I went out and, like I met you, it was different. I met you at Sib's place. I met them in an Aldi parking lot out in Suffolk County where we shot a video with me, them, and the bikes. I mean, I'm getting emotional because it was so funny. And then my friend Dawn Lang, who actually texted me last night while I was at that event, she said, Tommy D, we got to connect. Dawn runs an organization, Long Island Lending a Helping Hand, smaller organization here on Long Island, but doing great work, thrift store, helping people get access to things they need. And that's like what comes out of the Imagine Awards. Sure, it's incredible for organizations to win. So I mentioned all 4. Your organization, BACA, Nosh, and Dawn Lang's organization, Long Island Lending a Helping Hand. But what Ken Serini and I talk about a lot, Ken Serini, founder of the awards, is always, it is a great opportunity to shine light on the sector. And it is a great opportunity for everybody to get to meet each other and network. And I will tell you, if you're in that room, then you know what I'm talking about. I do not stop moving for the entire night because I have a lot of people that I want to get to know each other before we leave that night. But when I saw you go on stage with my business partner, Ed Probst, and I have a video, and it was just, I wanted all 4 of the folks. I want everybody there to win the freaking award. It's very difficult. When you are the nonprofit sector connector, it's very difficult. But I'm glad I'm not a judge. I'm on the committee. If you want to find out more, send me an email, gang. I'll talk to you about the Long Island Imagine Awards and the New York City Imagine Awards. But we got to go to a quick break. We come back. I want to go into kind of the programming. The last piece I'll put on that Imagine Awards rant was just the level of love and connection and compassion that we have in our sector here on Long Island is it's immeasurable. It's completely infinite, the love in that room. And I really believe, because the New York City Imagine Awards applications just came in, that even on Long Island, we're barely scratching the surface to connect with all the organizations. There's thousands of organizations here on Long Island that are in the nonprofit sector, which is why I plan on doing 5,000 episodes of Philanthropy and Focus. And that's just how it's going to go. All right, Dawn, now I'm calling you Dawn. Joanna, he's all over the map. Dawn Lang, hey, I'll text you later since I'm talking about you. Joanna, when we come back, I want you to take us through kind of like a virtual tour, because when I came through, you showed me, Tommy, this is like where the children do some arts and crafts. And then this is where we have a family dinner. And then this is where we go out, and you showed me like there was like a room, a soccer room and stuff like that. Now, as it gets warmer out, maybe they'll go outside. I think you talked to me about, I want to know all that, because I want to be able to close my eyes and listen to you tell the story, because some people are driving and listening to this, right? And I want them to see what goes on there. How's that sound?
Perfect. Sounds great.
All right, let's do it. We'll be right back. This show is Philanthropy and Focus. I am the one and only nonprofit sector connector. Right back.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marcanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Tips Place. Survivors and Brothers and Sisters is a free program serving well children ages 5 to 17 who are living with a sibling with a cancer or another devastating medical illness, a parent with a cancer diagnosis, and or children coping with the death of a sibling or a parent. It is an affiliate of Mount Sinai South Nassau and provides guided therapeutic peer support to help children develop skills to cope with the traumatic and emotional impact of a loved one's medical diagnosis or death. When I came for a visit, Joanna, I had said, you know, what this resonated for me was it was similar in experience to a sibling of a child with what we call special needs or intellectual developmental disabilities, or even some other kind of disability. However, you know, not quote unquote an illness, because we're dealing, and it was where that sibling of a child who might have some severe special needs feels left alone, feels like they can't experience certain things. I wouldn't go as far as saying there's resentment to the other sibling, but I'm sure in some cases there's different things because we're all human beings. But it's like they're at times forced to grow up quicker. They don't have somebody to talk to. They don't have a therapist to communicate with. And I see it a lot going back to the cancer side of things and other serious diseases. I know a lot of folks who, I mean, I was just at the LLS walk, Leukemia Lymphoma Society. I was not at the walk, but I was at a leadership meeting the other night with my friend Ray Schwetz. And there's these two beautiful little girls, and they have a little brother named Hunter. And I met the girls the other night because her dad is like chair of the walk this year, and he's coming on my show. But the girls, I don't want to mention too many names and stuff, but the bottom line is their family's been through some stuff, and I'm going to have them on my show, Long Island Changemakers. And I just think about these children who are impacted by this at a young age, and the collateral damage, if you will, or collateral challenges that they're going through by watching their sibling. They're caring, then they love their sibling, and then they have to deal with their own stuff of being isolated and not being able to talk to anybody. That's who you get to see every day, right?
Well, that's exactly it, Tommy. You know, we're creating a community for these children that feel forgotten. And it's not that they're purposefully forgotten, and nobody's, you know, saying, all right, you're not as important as your brother, sister. But when, you know, if you're a mom, I'm a mom, I have kids, you're one child sick, even if it's a cold, the flu, your 100% attention is on them, you know, and
I got limited resources. Like,
yeah.
Forget about all the other stuff going on. I only have, like, this focus can only right now is Joanna and Tommy, and I'm focused here. And
Yep.
landscapers making noise outside, I'm trying not to focus on them, right? I'm trying to be here. So if you're pouring all into that one individual, and there's several children in that home, that's just the way it is.
Right. It's hard, you know, so we have this space where families can feel at ease that their children can come here and get that support and the attention, and the psychological, you know, preventative based counseling that they need. That's what I love about this program. We are prevention based. And, you know, I think you and I spoke about it when you came here. You know, 25 years ago, that wasn't a buzzword. It is a little bit more of a concept now in the mental health world, where you want to try to provide children with an outlet to express their feelings, to identify their feelings, to be with other children that are just like them, so you can normalize their experiences and validate what they're going through, but then also to teach them the coping skills so that hopefully, yes, this is a really traumatic time in their life or a difficult time in their life, but with all of those tools and that space you're giving them, they will come out of it stronger. There's such thing as called post-traumatic growth. There's an increased level of empathy that comes from children that have had to deal with challenges early in their lives. So many of the children I worked with, I'm here, like you mentioned, a lot of years, are in the helping field now. I've got children that have gone on to be therapists themselves or want to be in the medical field because of their life experience. They have gained, a better understanding of how they can have an impact on the next generation. So, there is a power of that. When you're coming to SIBS, you are creating a community for yourself and your parents, because we have the parent support group as well. And you're really just finding a space where you're not going to feel judged. And I think as a child, you want to fit in, you want to not feel judged, and you want to feel like you're heard. You have somebody you can talk to and you want to feel heard.
Yeah, I'm raising 4 children. They happen to be mine and my wife's. And we're raising these, and they are 15, 14, 12, and 10. And fortunately, there's no serious health issues. I would say I believe mental health is certainly a continuum, and I talk about it all the time. And there's challenges that we battle through over here, going through all that. And your point is they're just kids trying to fit in. I mean, I'm not real good at fitting in. I don't like to do that anymore, but like I understand as a 13, 14-year-old kid, you might want to fit in because it's easier sometimes than standing out. But yesterday, before I emceed last night's event, I emceed an event at the middle school, and one of my children, 2 of my children go to that school. I had to leave to go to an event, so I didn't MC the whole day. But my older of my 2 sons, it was his grade, and I don't know how pleased he was that his boy Tommy D was on the microphone, but all his boys were pretty excited about it, and that was kind of fun. But I'm sure he would have rathered it if he could have just not been standing out because his dad was on the microphone, right?
Right.
Because there's so much. Sorry, please, go ahead.
No, and imagine you're a child in a school and you've got a parent with a cancer diagnosis who doesn't have their hair, or they're walking in with an oxygen tank, or they look physically different, and now you're 6 and you have to try to explain that to your friends. It's difficult.
They're embarrassed, I think you said, is what
Yes.
words,
Yeah.
right? Like I remember that when I came for the visit, you said I'm sure it wasn't one, but the child to say to you, I'm embarrassed of my mom or my dad because of that. Yeah, talk to me about
Right,
that.
and it's not so much, it's a little, and then there's a guilt about feeling embarrassed. It's a little mix of that, but
Yeah.
you don't want to stand out, and you don't want to have to answer these complicated questions with your friends. And we'll have groups that's what our focus of our group is. So how can you answer somebody when they mention your brother's, scar from his brain surgery? Or how can you address the lunch lady when she says to a child whose mother recently died, but the lunch lady doesn't know it, oh, go take home your debit card, your school card, and have your mom put more money on it. You're in the middle of the cafeteria and somebody's now bringing up the fact that your mom's not there. So how do you feel empowered in those moments to be able to address those situations, or not to? You could choose not to, and that's his right too. So they're sharing these experiences, and oftentimes one person shares a story like that, and not everyone's head's nodding, or half the heads are nodding because they've lived through similar situations.
Isn't that what they want? Isn't that what they want too? Is that community where it's like, oh, it's not, and I go and maybe that's, and certainly is what I'm trying to do in the world around mental health. But it's like they then go, oh my God, it isn't. I'm not the one who's only feeling this way. There's 9 other kids who look like me who are dealing with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can kind of whiteboard ideas, right? Or I'm sure more like crayon ideas or whatever, but like just figure out, right? Both, right, sure. Yeah, I mean, listen, some of the older kids, I'm sure it's obviously a different level of engagement, but what goes on? So some kids come to, we're going to spend a couple minutes. We're going late on this break. It's just the way it is on the show. So let's talk about like, what does the program look like day in and day out at SIBS Place?
So you hit on with the mission. We have three different populations. We have children who have somebody actively ill at home, a parent or a sibling. We have children who are just here for our bereavement services. That's offered on a separate night. And that's an 8-week group where it's intensive, and there's definitely a parent component required for our bereavement services. And then we have a third night of services where the children are here because either somebody's actively ill at home, or they were once part of our bereavement support group, and after that 8 weeks felt like they still needed support. So they continue with us on our Thursday evening program. And when they're here, I'll speak to the Tuesday, Thursday, because that's really how our program started, and that's our core program. They're here from 3 p.m. to 8 o'clock, which is 5 hours of respite for their families, which is incredible. They don't have to get here 3 sharp. They get here when they can, but we're available. And when they first walk in, they're coming in through, our back door, and there's a beautiful kitchen where, just like if they were in their house, they plop down their school bag, they get a snack, and they, go right into chit-chatting about their day. All the grown-ups are saying, how was your day? How did it go? How was that test you were talking about? And then they get into their homework. So we have volunteers who are high school students all the way up to, I think my oldest volunteer is this 92-year-old gentleman and his wife, who have been volunteering for as long as I've been working here. They're incredible, but they come and they sit side by side and help the children with homework. And then when they're done with that, we have this beautiful game room we were referencing with a foosball table and board games, and they're able to just play and engage with each other. We try to limit tech and cell phones and tablets. We really want them to be verbally and physically engaging with each other. Sometimes it's a losing battle, and we'll give them a little bit of time for that. Yeah. And then we provide dinner. Every night they get, a different hot meal that, we provide for them, or we'll get donations from the community so that we can provide those meals for them. And then once all of that is done, the later part of the evening is really focused on the truth therapeutic end. We've got this beautiful art therapy room that the children can use during free time if they want to do creative art in there. But every night there's a focused directive that my art therapists think up that helps the children to open up about what's going on, help them to connect, help them to develop coping skills. The social worker and my mental health counselor, they develop these verbal activities, whether it's a game or a journal, or maybe you're tossing a soccer ball or kicking a soccer ball, but that's used with questions on it so that they can open up about what's going on in their lives. And that happens every evening. We have a pet therapy dog that comes once a month, and we do music therapy. So there's various avenues of self-expression and opportunities for them to open up. So maybe they're not a talker, but they'll learn through their art. Or, they don't love dogs at the beginning of their visit with Daisy, but by the end, they're the last person to stop petting her. So, because the pet therapy is so important. And mindfulness, too, is usually incorporated into the night as well. That's part of practicing the coping skills, so that then hopefully they can take that with them when they're having a stressful moment outside of Sip's place.
Yeah, I want to come back. We're going to go a quick break. We come back. I want you to tell me about the mindfulness, what that looks like in practice, like whether it be modality or whatever you guys are doing. Because I'm all about that stuff, so I want to learn more. So we'll go to a quick break. You come back, we'll talk about that, and then I want to hear what's upcoming for the organization, Joanna, how we can help and how we can give back, because we've been bouncing around a lot. But that's what it is when you hang out with Tommy D. That's just the way it works. So, and trust me, you get to leave. I got to hang out with him all day. I can't get rid of the guy. Every time I turn around, he's right there. All right. So let's take a quick break, because I need one. When we come back, Joanna and I are going to talk about kind of the mindfulness at the organization, what's upcoming, and how you can get involved and support. Gang, if you want to check it out, go to sibsplace.org, SIBS place, PLACE.org, sibsplace.org. Joanna, Formont, Tommy D, right back.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be Frank About Health with all of you.
Ready to serve up success with a splash? Hi, I'm Bruce Kramer, a.k.a. the Corporate Cockroach.
I'm the Renaissance woman, Angie Snowball.
And I'm your strategy doctor, Dr. Navtej Desange, inviting you to serving up success with a splash.
Join us as we shake things up with real talk and real strategies centered around awareness, action, and accountability.
And yes, there really is a cocktail involved. Please join us. and sip your way to success.
Serving up success with a splash, where wisdom meets happy hours. Cheers!
Cheers.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
No matter what you might have heard from Yolanda Rabano Gross gang, you're not really supposed to come to my house and go in my attic. It's only for me and some of my kids sometimes can come up here. But it's saying when you say join him in his attic, it means show up for the show, pay attention. But you probably get that now. We're like over 200 episodes of this thing, 200 episodes of something that was just an idea. And I encourage you, if you have an idea, freaking try it. Because as Joanna and I started the show, tomorrow's no guarantee. All we have is this moment right here. So don't freaking wait. Like, don't just go do the thing. If it doesn't come out the way you wanted, you figured out a way not to do it, then you do something else. Joanna, talk to me about mindfulness over at Sib's place.
Sure. So, that is one of the basic, we end the night with that, so that they're going home with some type of coping skills. So we might do guided imagery. We might have somebody come in and do yoga with the children. We do a lot of breath work, helping them breathe, maybe attaching that with gratitude. I just got up to we have these little healing stones. So this might be an activity where you give the kids a pouch to decorate. This happens to be a Sib's pouch, but then you give them stones where then you got your stones, right? Where they can at least reflect.
My wife, yeah. Yeah, it drives my wife crazy because I pick up rocks everywhere. And it's something about, I guess it's a grounding thing. Like I'm at the beach, there are rocks all over the place. So the stones, something about that. So tell me about those stones you have there.
It is it's a physical object that you could put in your backpack, keep in your pocket, that you can, in that moment, hold on to it. We have 5 stones in this bag. So maybe the activity might be think of 5 things that you're grateful for, or maybe it's find 5 ways to think about a coping skill that could get you out of the situation, or maybe you want to do 3 for a younger child, but it just is something very tangible and concrete, right? That represents a skill that they've acquired at Sibs, but also I always reflect that it reminds them that they're part of a larger community. So they've got this bag that they got from Sibs Place sitting in their backpack. When they're feeling alone, when they're feeling isolated, they know that they've got this community support behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the community piece is coming off for me big time, but it's also, they know they can go to that and it's going to draw them back to an experience that they had at Sibs Place. Right. So, because it's a transcendent in some regards from my perspective, that it's like I can take this stone and I know when I sat with Joanna and team and some of my peers, I felt good on Thursday night. And it's Monday. I won't see my gang maybe again until Tuesday night, but I'm having a tough time and I can grab these stones and just remember and it takes you back there. And that's all we need is not all we need, but in a lot of cases, all we need is that moment to pause and breathe before we react. It's about
and that's what mindfulness is, right? It's being in the moment. It's being right.
Yeah, sorry, please continue.
It's just being present in the moment and just reminding them that that's, we don't have control over a lot in our lives, especially as children. When you have an illness or a death, you definitely have lost a sense of control. So where you can find pockets of control, right? Where you can find places where you can have a little bit of control. I can control my body and the way I breathe. I can control my reactions and how I respond to people, right? So these are the places that they can gain that sense of power and control that is missing when you're a child, so you're kind of going along wherever your parents say, but 2, when there's an illness or a loss, that's a big loss of control.
Sure. And as control is funny because we have so little of it, but we want it so bad, right?
Right.
And as children, they're battling for it. And then you throw in the illness and things. What I would tell you, gang, is there's been plenty of times where I hear a big rumbling noise in my washing machine because I leave rocks in my pocket sometimes, like a little boy. So when you have a little pouch of stones, make sure you take them out of your pocket of your shorts or your jeans or whatever before. What's coming up for the organization? How can people find out more? How can people plug in?
Yeah, so we go now into camp season. We are really, really lucky. We get some funding for our summer camp program, Camp Sibs, which allows the children to be here 3 days a week. 2 days are field trips. 1 day is an on-site day here. But it really gives children that empowerment and those enriching opportunities. We're talking about the mindfulness and thinking back to, oh, when I was at Sibs, I did this and that, and I can reflect on that. Camp provides that same opportunity. We might take them horseback riding and horseability. And then in the middle of the year, right, great organization, in the middle of the year, when they're struggling with something, we can call back to that and say, remember when you were so afraid to get on that horse, but now, you did it and you rode and you didn't want to get off. And it's really that in the moment reminder of their strength and their sense of being able to accomplish a challenge. And that's half of our camp is activities like rock climbing and roller skating and things of that nature. And then we'll take them, to something cultural. Maybe we'll do something like a Met game, or we'll go to a museum, or this year we're going to take them to see Wicked on Broadway. So that's a big part of our program because it lets them have a summer just like their peers.
Yeah.
When you have an illness in the house, sometimes financially you can't afford a camp. When there's an illness in the house, you sometimes are afraid to send somebody to camp because of their compromised immune system. They know when they're here, they're safe. So how do people get involved? They want to support our camp. That's great. We always can use, materials for our therapy activities or funding to support that. We have our website, which is, announced, sibsplace.org, to get more information. For me, awareness is why I come on shows like this. I want people to know about Sibs Place, that if you are a family coping with an illness or a loss, and you have children between the ages of 5 and 17, there is a resource for them. They do not have to cope with this alone. They can meet other children, create a community. The parent that is coping with the illness or loss can do the same. We have a really vibrant parent support group where they connect with each other, even outside of SIBS, for practical advice or just to give each other emotional support. So, no one should have to go through this alone. And we are here from diagnosis until remission. And that's more cases than not, or we're here from diagnosis, and if there is a loss, to support the family through that loss. So, look us up, find us as a resource for friends and family, and partnerships. We're always looking to partner with other not-for-profits. I think that's important, that we are sharing our resources.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all you shared today. By the way, I don't know if you know this, I'm on the board of directors at Horseability. My friends, Denise, Katie McGowan, and Margie came to the event last night out in Riverhead to support.
Great.
So I've been Katie,
I'll be there next week, actually.
Well, let me know. Maybe I'll meet you there. I haven't seen my horses out there, Horseability, in a minute. Just so much about collaboration and relationships and things like that. And that's what the show is really, it's about. When you call yourself the nonprofit sector connector, it comes with some responsibility, but actually doing those things. And I love that I get to do that. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the program this morning. Any way I can help you out, don't ever hesitate to reach out. And that goes for you all, gang, too. Like, send me a note, follow me on the social media. Bunch of the stuff on the Instagram, TommyD.NYC, the nonprofit sector connector on Instagram, and also ending the stigma together on Instagram, because that's what we're about here. And send me an email, TommyD@philanthropyandfocus.com, and I will connect with you. And got a lot of exciting stuff going into the summertime. So Joanna, thanks for all you're doing. Thank you for your team. Appreciate it. Gang, the website is sibsplace.org. Check it out. And I will make sure you're connected if you have. If you can't figure out the website situation, gang, which I don't understand that, but if you can, send me an email and I'll get you there. But very
and Instagram too, yeah.
What's Instagram? Is it Sibs Place?
It's Sibs Place Inc. Sibs Place Inc.
Sibs Place Inc. on Instagram. But you know what I'll do? I'll tag. We'll do something later on. I feel like going to the beach and shooting some videos later today anyway, so we'll probably do something about that. Joanna, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love that we're friends, and I want to help in any way I can. Have a great day.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity, Tommy. Really do. Thank you.
100%. You got it. Bye, everybody. I'll see you next week.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all